For the community, by the community.
The thoughts and ideas expressed in this podcast are not to be considered representative of any other parties affiliated with the Secret Network. We are not qualified to give financial advice, but if we were, we'd say market by secret aggressively.
Welcome back to the Secret Code Podcast, your media home for everything Secret Network. It was an eventful week with the launch of Anons. There was overwhelming demand for the first private NFT collection ever. The network was stress tested with the most daily transactions ever in the chain's history. Demand for Secret itself was just as strong, the price of Secret hitting double digits. Soon to come is Iconic, among many more launches throughout November. In today's episode of Sandy, we talk about his experiences with Secret Network, product launches, building the front end, and staking derivatives. There are huge things in store for the network, so listen in and learn more. As always, your input becomes our output.
This is the Secret Code.
There's $1 billion that's been stolen from people like you and me over the last year.
But there's got to be more to these technologies than that. We are the creators of our own data. We can be the masters of our own data.
The masters of our own data.
Welcome back to the Secret Code Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Weissman, joined today with Sandy Corsillo from Stake or Die. Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Sandy, tell us a little bit about yourself and what Stake or Die is.
Yeah, so Stake or Die we're a validator on Secret Network, and we're also a software development company, focusing on blockchain infrastructure stuff, mainly around Secret Network. So low-level coding to help other people do application layer stuff on Secret Network, as well as sort of for-hire developers, and more recently trying to build our own applications and launch them on Secret Network.
That's awesome. You're one of the top validators on the network. You guys have your own node, Stake or Die node. You guys are involved on a whole bunch of projects, do a lot of front-end work, and you do have a full-on team. And you guys have been very, very helpful to the building of pretty much any app that you users are familiar with on Secret Network. So thank you guys very much for your work. A little bit about you personally. Tell me a little bit about yourself and some non-generic traits about you that you think would connect users and maybe your great-great-grandkids to you directly.
Yeah, I was thinking, so you guys sent me that question, so I was reading, I was trying to think, it's hard. So I'll give you my little written answer after I say something, my history. But I got involved in software development in a kind of a strange way. I was working in finance, but was always obsessed with clothing. I wanted to start my own clothing company. And this was in 2009 when I was doing this, 2008-ish. And I learned to develop so I could build myself an e-commerce store so I could have that for my brand. And I think this is kind of like one of those things that happens in life, but like you think you want to go one way and then you realize that you are, or at least for me it did, you're interested in kind of a thing that you didn't really expect. So I did that. I got into the clothing company. My brother and I started a brand. It was called The Hillside and a store called Hickory's that we ran for about 10 years. And, gradually from, slowly and then pretty fast, I just became much more interested in the software layer on the development side than I was in the clothing after a while. And then I took a job in 2019 and in California for a company that was doing clothing merchandise drops for people with really large social followings. And it was kind of this thing where they flew me out there. They're like, we want to build this thing in 2 weeks. And we have these developers that we know through friends. And that was LKMX, the company that my partner Victor owns and Luis works for. And I went down to Mexico, met them, Victor put Luis on the project. He was our lead dev, and we got to work building a sort of social network, building the website, an e-commerce site itself, but also a sort of website that was or an application that was a sort of like social analytics platform, basically trying to merge commerce data and social data together to help people or help influencers target like really engaged people. Maybe not the people who had the largest audience, but like really, really deeply engaged people, and then use those people, like, gift those people stuff, and then use what they were posting as a way of driving more engagement, that type of thing. It was an okay project, but I was just really impressed with the way they did things at LKMX. From there, pandemic hit. I had been an Enigma investor since 2017. Sort of got back into it, started learning more about it, got really excited with the secret, the swap to secret, and the whole story, just thinking that this was like a massively undervalued project, and kind of dove headfirst back into it. And reached out to Victor and Luis, and then we've all sort of been on just this crazy, as fast as we can, learning as much as we can, just project to start building in this new world, feeling like this is the future. So yeah, traits. Hardworking. I like to feel I'm honest to a fault sometimes. I don't know. I was trying to think of some other ones that make sense. I'm nice. I really, really love their great grandmother. That's a good one.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Obligatory, but no, true. So, yeah.
Good. Yeah. Marriage is wonderful. I would not be anywhere I am without my wife, and she's an incredible mom of my 3 little girls. So congratulations.
Amazing. I didn't know you had kids. Amazing.
I've got, my oldest just turned 4. So it's going to be a long life.
Okay. Yeah. We have a dog. It's the best I can do.
But dude, I love cats, bro.
Oh, okay.
My little cat and donut shirt. I don't know if it's on camera right now, but
nice. You and Tor need to have cat conversations.
We're taking over a full-on community, and there might even be a non-dog secret dog pretty soon in the next NFT set. So
amazing.
If anybody steals my cat, I'm going to be pissed. Anyways, thank you for that background. That's awesome. How long have you been in crypto? Did you start with Enigma, or were you in before 2017?
I have like sad stories prior to that. It was like 2000. All the years start blending together when I go far back enough, but I want to say 13-ish. A friend of mine who was just like he was getting his PhD in math told me about Bitcoin. It's like there's this thing that people are trying, told me about it. I got super excited. I tried to accept Bitcoin on my e-commerce store, and just couldn't figure it out. It was like BitPay was around, but it was really difficult. And like, I've always these. I mean, I guess it's pretty common, but I have kind of like stories about like asking my friend like, how do I buy Bitcoin, and being like, it's really hard right now. I'm like, what about this thing Coinbase I just read about? You say, I don't trust those guys. I don't trust them. They're things like that. And I didn't do it. Then Ethereum was a pretty similar story, or I got really excited about it, but I was sort of told by some people I trusted that it was inflationary, so it'll never be worth anything. So I didn't invest in that. And then, I think 2017-ish, that time, my company was winding down, or at least we were struggling. And I was just kind of trying to think about what was next, and just trying to look for what the next project was, and kind of went through the top 100 projects and just went one by one and got excited about a lot of them. But there's something about Enigma that really sort of stuck out for me. Made me feel like, just a sort of confluence of things, feeling like the team was really strong. Their initial sort of the plan or what was exciting about it. This idea that you could do things with pharmaceutical data, or you could share data sets and figure out correlations that you could between proprietary data sets and things like that. It was just really, really kind of, it got exciting to me. I think we all kind of sort of realized that the limitations or what's different about blockchain than what we wanted it to be. Maybe I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but I've been just continuously impressed with the way they have sort of pivoted when need to, and built something that I think is just as exciting as the original vision was, but just different. And so like now with NFTs coming out, it's like kind of I'm as excited today as I was back then. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just looking back at 2017 when I first invested, it's like I think blockchain's the future. I think it's going to make businesses faster, more efficient, and be able to do more things. And nobody's going to do it if they don't keep their data private. Like, it doesn't make sense. Everything that currently existed wasn't going to work. And Enigma and now Secret Network is. And their vision with Secret's much, much better than it was as Enigma, which was enough for me to get all excited. And the NFTs are dope. So about NFTs, you were a key component for the Anon launch that just went through. And so I am now a proud owner of Anon number 149, and absolutely
Amazing.
Nobody else will ever get it because it is mine. It is me, and we are one and the
Amazing.
same. So you want to tell me about how Anons went? And
I have 122, I believe. Anons, it was crazy. I mean, Luis should probably get involved in this conversation because essentially the story of Anons is us making a really good plan that was a great plan, but it wasn't the way it worked. You know what I mean? It's like they say in war or whatever, you make a good plan until you get into combat, and then you just run around with like a chicken with its head cut off, we did a lot of things really right, but leading up to it, we just got into a position where we were working, trying to solve problems we didn't know about or didn't accept. We're kind of learning as we were going. But like, I'm super proud of where we came out in the end. And I think that, part of the whole thing was figuring out like what it means to actually launch a project versus what it means to sort of conceive of and have an idea for a project. And I think that like the load problem that we had, the problem where minting was didn't work at first, and then was a challenge for people going forward from then, was just both super exciting but also like just terrifying, frankly. And we're excited, but yeah, I mean, the thing that I was sort of the most proud with is that Luis and his team sort of dove into contract development pretty late in the process, and we try and we pride ourselves as an organization, as a software development company, to plan, have really strong processes and build applications in a way where we're not at the last minute scrambling, right? We have, we try and put more time for testing and more time for deployment than you need, but it really is when it gets down to a point where you're sort of like working really hard and you just need to launch, it kind of separates the wheat from the chaff or whatever they say. And I think we performed, really well in that last moment. I don't know, Luis, what did you think about the whole project?
Yeah, I think that it went really good at the end. I know that at first we were struggling a lot about, fitment, about a lot of different components, right, that are needed in order to launch the project. For sure, I think that the biggest thing that I got from this project is all these little like lessons, that we just like saw in each part of the application, in some sort of, I don't know, I think that for me, it's not just to think about the project as a whole, but each component, the way that we could, in any other project, launch it better and do it better, So from my perspective, I think that it went really well, but I think that we have a lot of room for improvement, and for sure that we're going to take these lessons and put it on any new project from this point forward.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end, it was a massive success. It's like, I think maybe this is like what you kind of want from developers, where it's like we're perfectionists, so it's like any little problem we're just hyper focused on, and that's what gives a good product in the end. But it's funny, you ask about a project that all on any like metric was a massive success, and people are super excited about. And I'm kind of humbled and amazed. And Steven Ranger just did the most amazing job marketing it, and and frankly, that was what. As a developer, you're working with someone who's like, guys, I'm like saying to him, hey, what do you think about having a countdown, like saying 3 days left? He's like, I got this. Like, I got that part. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not like trying to tell you how to do your job. Or he's like, just don't worry about it. And like, it's like not only did he not need any help, it's like he did it so well that it broke up. It broke the network essentially. You know what I mean? And for, but frankly, it's like the warts, these growing pains, these things for the network, these are good problems to have. This is the type of thing that you can solve, right? You can figure these things out. Like we can scale, we can add, we can make our infrastructure better. We can do a lot of things. We can't magically have the energy and the excitement and the amount of people flooding in to try and buy these anons. Then magically, you can't just do that. It's not. There's ingredients to it that take a long time to come together, and when they do, it's kind of a beautiful thing. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like we keep saying this, like it was the best project in the world because it pushed us to a point where we hadn't been yet, and now we have that. Now we've done that. It's like we can apply that to everything else. We like to say internally that like. We're winning if we're improving our processes or our capabilities, regardless of whether we're making money or not, right? If we do those two things, like we become better from a process standpoint. We can manage more people, manage more projects, do that kind of thing. And we're always trying to, and that's a hard thing. Or if we end a project better and more capable for the next one, then we've won, even if and in this one, it was, couldn't be more of a win, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason for the issues was because the demand was very high, and that's awesome. And this wasn't even the first time we've stress tested Figment. So you're welcome, Cosmos ecosystem, that the demand for our project is so high. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
but
and I think these things are going to get like Supernova is going to be huge for this. Permits were huge. I mean, that's the other thing about this project is it's like we were like, usually you want to be at least a week and maybe 2 weeks ahead of launch, be finished, no new features and just testing, right? It was like, I don't know, Luis, when did permits finally get like, okay, they're ready? It's like Thursday or Friday. Yeah. And like a good healthy product manager / sort of on the sales side, sort of like the person who's talking to the client and that lead developer should have like a healthy back and forth where like I'm arguing for speed and I'm saying I want more and I want it faster. And Luis is saying this is going to take longer and we can't do this much, right? That's like the healthy sort of back and forth. But I was just pounding Luis. We need to have permits. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then, we need to do this. Like, can you guys do this? It's like, well, we don't even, it was, and his team just performed really well. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I've got a community spotlight question for you from Matthew, not the same Matthew as last week, but a different Matthew from our podcast Telegram. And that is, if someone wants to become a developer for Secret Network and they have little experience, how should they choose between front end and back end?
That is going to be a really good question for Luis because he does both. And Luis, here, I'll frame this for you. Is it better to start with a scripting language with JavaScript, HTML, that kind of thing, which is, has a lot of leeway and you can test and play around and it doesn't really punish you for it, but maybe you don't become as good of a developer as you could, or is it better to start with like a low level type safe compiled language where like you become, Superman and then go the other way? What do you think?
Yeah, totally. I think, it depends a lot on the background that you have. But generally speaking, the learning curve for getting into Secret Network, I think is a little bit less or in the front end side, And the reason for that is that the front end, even it has its own like complexities about learning different technologies, because you're combining a lot of technologies, basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all in once. I think it is much easier maybe to build it. When you're building front-end applications, it is easier to see progress when you're building things, basically, much rapidly. And I think, well, we have a library and we have a framework called Griptape, which I really recommend people to check it out. And if you're using Griptape, that will be super easy to actually start implementing blockchain-based application in Secret Network. In terms of the contract development, I think that has a lot of. It is way too complex than just building an app. You need to require a lot of knowledge, not only about how to write low-level code, but you need to be actually taking into account to do code that is performing, code that actually performs well. You need to really be sure that your contract, being in the right mindset about how to set up things so your contract doesn't require a lot of gas, for example, to do certain operations. So there's a lot of different things that you need to take into account, rather than just say, oh, okay, I'm going to write this contract and I'm just going to do the maintain function to just mean a new app. It's not just like that. You need to really go through a very specific process to put your mindset to understand that contracts are immutable, all this stuff. And I think the learning curve for that is way too much higher than for front development. So I will choose front development in this case. That would be my choice.
Awesome.
Yeah, the highlight or the sort of takeaway here is it's hard, like really hard, like hard in ways that, I mean, I guess you should expect, but like Luis and I talked about this right before we were launching. When you're developing an application and you have a website and you want it to look a certain way, you have the browser. It shows you what it looks like. You can see that. Then you can change it. You can see the difference of what it was before. When you're building a traditional backend application, you have an API that has an endpoint. You can use something called Postman. You can use other things where you can write code that says, I am user so-and-so, give me something. And you check and you see, did I get that thing or did I not get that thing? When you're doing blockchain development, it's like you need to write code. You need to write for people who aren't, you basically need to test, which means essentially writing code that plays with your application's code to tell you what the results are. Because once you've launched it, there's no going back. You don't have a second chance. And so there's no screen and there's no Postman for it. There's just testing, right? And test-driven development is hard, right? Testing is hard. It's the kind of development that you start out not doing it and you're thinking, why do I need this? Like there's a Dunning-Kruger kind of thing, where like you think like, I don't need that. And then the more you learn and you realize how stupid you are, and you're like, I really need that. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing. But that having been said, like, I kind of like the idea of people, especially maybe younger people, just like diving into the hard thing and seeing if they can do it. You can always go back and try and learn JavaScript and simpler development and be like, oh, this is much easier. But sometimes I think, I don't know, like, Luis, what do you think about this? Like the lower level codes, the Rusts of the world, they kind of are, there's like an elegance to them or something. There's like, something that's sort of, they have a je ne sais quoi about them that leads people who are good at them to be like, rate Rust like the best language, 5 years in a row or whatever it is. Like, I don't really understand it, but I kind of, I respect it, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome answer, guys, for an awesome question. Thank you, Matthew, for the community spotlight question this week. We will send you 2.5 secret, and we will up it to 5 if you prove that we're your top delegation. But that is cut in half from what it originally was, and we will now also be offering secret for people that prove that they are subscribing to our YouTube channel, which we're trying to focus more content there. So thank you for the community spotlight, and we always love the community engagement for stuff like this. About what you were talking about with Rust and JavaScript being the primary languages for back end and front end currently on Secret Network, respectively. I definitely agree that it's probably easier to get involved in front end originally, but yeah, there's different fits for different people, and we need all kinds of people involved. And I know for Secret Swap specifically, I'm always hiring. So
yeah, us too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And as the price of Secret goes up, more people will be hiring.
Yeah, definitely.
So will you tell me a little bit about Griptape, what you guys have been building and what you guys are using it for, and what everyone uses it for?
Sure. When we started I started the validator, I did that before our company, and I came up with this stake or die because it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of ode to video games of my youth. I actually thought it was like there's a game stake or die, and I thought that's what I was thinking of. There was actually a game called 720 that they have in the arcades that had like this sort of ball that you would roll, and these bees would chase you, and yeah, it was just amazing. So I started with that, but then once we were coming up with ideas for things, we started coming up with like skateboard related names. So that's where Griptape comes from. But yeah, we built the secret auctions as let's just see if we can do this kind of thing. Well, there weren't a lot of other people raising their hand, and so we did. And we just got we were just really overwhelmed by how difficult it was, how much there was to learn to just do really simple things from a front-end developer standpoint. And from people who know how to develop applications, right? There's just, everything from having a different mindset about how you communicate with an API, with the data layer of an application, to just, challenges with, like setups and it is very much a situation in which it feels like an early stage where things need to be tweaked at low levels to make things work a little bit better. So we started coming up with some solutions to these problems, thinking that we were pretty good solutions, and thought, well, why don't we just package that together into a framework that people can use to build their applications? And Luis was really excited about this. And so we kind of went through a few different iterations early on. We had some aha moments where we realized this is what we should do, and literally doing this in the two of us on meet calls, talking about different, we could make the contract a contract layer, a sort of layer in the application, those types of things where we felt wow, we've really sort of figured something out. And then we went and asked for a grant for the application. Got that grant from the what's it called, the ecosystem fund? Is that what the grants go to? I think so. Anyway, we got a grant for it and started working on it and realized that we needed to rethink the whole thing. And so we sort of tore it down and started from scratch and came up with what we both feel like is a really valuable it's just a great piece of software from a great framework from the standpoint of it's opinionated but not but doesn't force you into, for instance, either Vue or React. You can use either one, and it builds up very nicely in terms of the different modules, the different APIs that we've put into it. We feel like we've taken a lot of consideration into future updates. I'm just really, I don't know. Luis could probably describe it on a more technical level, I think, than I could. But
on a less technical level, how would you describe it in one sentence to somebody who's not a developer that's listening to the show?
It's an application framework, which just means it's a thing that handles a lot of things that you don't have to do, so that you can code on top of that. And it both gives you capabilities and sets rules and guardrails to guide you through the development process, so that you get an application that just works.
So it's
and works in the way you expect.
So it's like a better user interface where the user is the developer?
Yeah, sort of. I'm trying to think of like good examples of this in that would make sense to people. It's like what an application framework is. It's like when I first started developing, right, I was doing PHP, and when you PHP, you need to have a database to connect to it. And I remember spending like 2 weeks writing code to figure out how I was going to connect from my code to the database, right? That 2 weeks that I spent could have been eliminated if I had used an application framework like Ruby on Rails or something like that were popular at the time, where they handle all of that. And so all you have to do is go in there and start writing code. You write, I want to get from my database, and it all just works. They were kind of one of the big frameworks early on, and they had this phrase that said composition over configuration. No, what was it? Something over configuration. And basically that's what it does. You don't have to configure everything. You don't have to make every decision, and so that's what it's doing. It's helping developers do that, and just getting free stuff, like how changing your wallet affects the application in Kepler, that type of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say one thing that's interesting about Griptape. The last thing I'll say about it is that we did all this work independently, and we figured stuff out, tore it down, figured it out again, get better and better. And then when we started looking out at what other people were doing, say in the Ethereum ecosystem, we started looking at other frameworks that are similar and being like, oh, they're doing it exactly how we're doing it. Nice. And so it was kind of like, at least we're taking the right approach, but we definitely, came to it the hard way, I guess you could say.
Everyone's inventing the wheel at the same time right now in a whole bunch of different places. No, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are making it, and it should make it easier for more and more new people to come in and build their applications on Secret Network, which is the goal of every layer one. So thank you and good job, guys. And we have one more community question, and that is the viewing key. So your viewing key question for this week is, how much is a lifetime subscription to Altermail? Is it A, free, B, $199, C, $580, or D, $75 per year? A lifetime subscription to Altermail.
I had a number in my head that I'm wrong about now. So first was free, and then what was B?
$199.
I'm gonna go with B.
That is correct.
Yes.
Good job. You are a winner of the viewing key. You may hold that over Asaf's head forever, and myself, as I got it wrong in episode 14. Yes. Okay. Right now, a lifetime subscription to Altermail, which is an incredible email alternative platform built on Secret Network. I think we had them on in one of our earlier episodes, maybe 7 or 8, with Oscar Yepsis. Great time, great program, and I've been beta testing it. Now it's officially live. I've got my account. It is fun and awesome to use and is provably safe, as ProtonMail, what's currently viewed as the most secure system, is showing over and over again that it's not. And this provably is, verified on Secret Network. You can get a lifetime 50 gigabyte subscription for $199. Or if you want to pay monthly, right now you could do $25 or $37 a month, which is 50% off from what it's going to be. And so they're marketing to insurance firms, law firms, all kinds of organizations who should use it for their internal communications at the least, to make sure that they're not going to have this, to mitigate the huge risk of their emails getting doxxed. So
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be
the last thing. Yeah.
They're going
sorry, I don't cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good. They're going to be doing probably their own token pretty soon. They're going to be having their own mobile app with calendar. They're eventually Alter Pay, like a lot of other awesome things. This is a huge, amazing breakthrough platform that's being built on Secret Network. So if you guys haven't checked out Altermail yet, go check out that episode we did and get involved on their Discord and get a membership. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, to follow on with that, if you're building something that is getting usage by people who don't even know they're using Secret Network, then the hats off. That's like the dream. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, you pay that lifetime fee, and the gas fees and everything are taken care of behind the scenes. The users of the platform don't even have to know they're using crypto. That's just how it works.
Yeah, amazing.
So Sandy, tell me about Stake D, your guys' staking derivatives that you've been working on.
Yeah, it's like a long story. Well, it's not a long story. The story of it is that it took a long time. So I started working on that. Well, there have been people that talked about staking derivatives early on, but I moved from California to Connecticut, where I am right now, in November of 2020, and I think I still don't know what happened, but I think I probably over like protected my mnemonic for my ledger, and I put it somewhere and I couldn't find it. So I got to Connecticut, and I'm starting to look at it, and I realized I cannot find my mnemonic, and I have my ledger and it has all my money on it, and I'm freaking out. And I decided, and every time I'm doing it, it's like I would mess up my password, so you have 2 attempts left, and I would be like, sweating bullets. And the problem with that is that when you're staking, you can't move it to a different wallet, right? So your funds are set, you basically have a 21-day period in which you need to wait. So I immediately unstaked. Now I'm waiting 21 days, and by the way, this goes to show if people are unstaking, you never know why they're doing it. I unstaked a big chunk at one point, and it was because I had lost my mnemonic, So it's not always good to assume that people are about to leave the network or something like that. But I just, and as I'm waiting for this, I'm like, is this thing gonna fail? Like, what if it breaks? Like, what if who knows? Luckily, the funds came out. I moved it to a different ledger that I bought, and then I ended up getting like a crypto steal, and I was like, now I'm on top of all this shit, right? But during that, I realized that this was a problem unique to this issue of staking, and I reread and started the staking derivatives thing, and just started thinking like, this is perfect. This is what I would have done it this way. I would have been fine. This would have been simple. So I reached out to a developer who's no longer sort of working too much in the network. And we started working on the project. He had some personal things that he had to say no to the project after working on it for about 2 weeks or something like that. And so I went to Badrick, who is sort of the all-star in our community for developers, and begged him to help me with it. And he did. And basically it was it's been this is easy, no, this is hard, this is way harder than you think, this is even harder than you think type situation. And so we built the whole thing, we were ready to go, and then we realized that there's a limit in Tendermint that only 7 people, you can only unbond 7 times within a 21-day period. And if you were to unbond one secret, you can go up to 7, and then you can't do any more. Huh. Well, if you have one contract that's doing the staking and needs to unbond, and you have 1,000 people who could want to unbond at any point in time, you can see where this is going. And at first you think like, oh, well, that's okay. Maybe we'll up the limit to 60,000 and then we'll be fine. And you start thinking about it and you're like, well, wait a second. If you did it to 60,000 and let's say some bad actor who has 50 secret wants to freeze the thing for 21 days or indefinitely, they could just unbond small amounts 60,000 times, and now the contract's locked, right? And so now we've made Tendermint slower because now it has this, a larger footprint, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, we realized that this was just a problem, and like most times when you realize these things, you then look to other places. Like I looked to Terra and saw that they had a limit on it because they had the same problem. And then we got that solved. Badrick came up with a very good thing. We realized that we needed voting. We got that implemented. The whole thing was ready to go. We did testnet. I put it on LiveNet. I deposited my money into it. I started staking a good chunk of money, and then Supernova got announced. And suddenly I realized that if this contract doesn't work for some reason, because there's some change in Supernova that we can't predict, everyone's money is locked, And it's like, it goes back to this, you can only launch one time. This is like, you can't make any mistakes, and you also can't do anything, and we just started, so we went back, and then we have, and since then we've just sort of we keep getting to this place when we're about to launch to say, you know what, let's just wait until Supernova is in place so that we can do it. So the plan now is that we're going to launch it on the 10th, I guess, or the day after the Supernova launch, maybe a little bit after that, something like that. The current way that it's set up is that it's going to be 2 validators, Badrick, so Mr. Roboto and Stake or Die. And then there's going to be a third validator, and that validator is chosen at random, we think from the bottom 25% of the validator set, which should give, and it'll switch every month. So the idea is to give smaller validators an opportunity to get like a chunk of delegations that they know they'll have for a month. Maybe that sort of fuels them to get more, and then goes from there. And then meanwhile, while this is all happening, Cashmany, Itzik at Enigma was working on his own version of this that is, it's different. I think it's a little more ambitious in its scope. And he has this idea of having a validator set where a lot of different validators can become a part of this. I don't think there's a limit, actually. And that has its own challenges. You have to do sort of like whenever new people put money in, which validator gets that money? How is it allocated? If you split it up to a bunch of different people, that won't work. So you have to use some sort of a round robin system. It's complicated. And as we all know, Badrick has a small little project that he's working on called Stash. And so we don't have much development resources or bandwidth. And at this point, I think we're just going to put it out there. And hopefully it'll help solve a problem. And if someone wants to pick up Stake D and run with that and really, implement that, more power to them. But I think the idea is we'll just put it out there and for me, I'm happy if it just solves the problem of I don't worry about if I can switch wallets. Mm-hmm. Remove anything for all the other stuff that's really good about staking derivatives. Just remove that, and I'd be happy to have that.
Another really cool application for protecting mnemonic seeds is Block Locker. We're about to cover it a little bit more, but it was created by Stephen of BTN of Button Group, who we had on our last episode. And so the way that's going to work is you can literally encrypt it on Secret Network, put a message or whatnot, have 3 whitelisted wallet addresses where you can use your friends, and they can't directly access it unless they have a password that you don't give them. And so then you could go to them, they could query your address, put in the password that you then give them. And as long as one of those 3 friends, you can access them or whatnot, then you can recover that phrase, and then you can still encrypt that so they wouldn't get it. But that's very cool. So that's a neat application that we're going to look into a little bit more. But that would have been helpful. Yeah. But that's also that's a simple, cool thing that derivatives can do. But derivatives can do so much more. So I'm personally working heavily with Secret Swap. I'm personally incredibly excited for the future of what liquid staking and staking derivatives could offer, because when you start adding liquidity provision from derivative staked a derivative staked perspective, all of a sudden now you can be doubling up on rewards where money that's currently being staked is also providing liquidity, which bolsters liquidity, raises APRs, and ideally, if we could do it to the right percentage, would also raise the bonded rate, which would lower inflation, lower the circulating supply, raise the price, bolster liquidity even more. Because I'd love to see it eventually where everybody's staking and everybody's using derivatives, and all the derivatives are LPing on Secret Swap and Sienna and whatever AMMs come out on Secret Network, and then whatever's actually on Binance and more centralized exchanges for regular Secret that's not Secret derivatives would be a lot smaller and worth a lot of money. And as inflation's lower and whatnot, it could be very, very huge. So I'm glad that you guys are working on it. Badrick's awesome. I love Stash and everything you guys are doing with anons and NFTs in general.
Yeah, it's we're really I don't know. I can't wait for it to get out because I was using it, but you don't realize how hard, maybe not hard, but how scary an application can be until you launch an application that and then someone puts a bunch of money into it, and then they have to unbond it and wait 21 days to figure out, and you have to do that before you make sure that it works, those types of things. Yep. So, but this has probably been one of the more tested applications now on Secret Network, because we tested it on testnet. We put it into LiveNet. We didn't tell anyone about it so they wouldn't risk their money. I put my own money, a large amount. I unbonded it all. It worked. And now we just have to make sure that it goes to supernova and we can go live, and you can all feel very comfortable that you have sort of the best contract developer out there working on it, and it's very well tested. So yeah, we're excited about it.
That's awesome. Circling back to when you were talking about how we do have to have a test-based system for all of our contracts, the way it's set up for back-end development. I've been working heavily on the CFI lottery and a couple of other platforms that are going to be games working with CFI, and I've been helping do some of that testing. And it is difficult because the developers that are doing the testing, when they're testing their own projects, nobody thinks of everything. And so there's always one more thing like, oh man, I didn't think of that. And so we need larger test groups. We need people who are less capable and know less of what they're doing to come on and test it to make sure things are more intuitive. But also, every time there's an issue, everybody can learn from it. For example, for the CFI lottery, when we saw such high usage and demand for anons that it crashed the network and the nodes got out of sync because some were overbogged, we're like, hey, we should add a stopgap between when you can mint tickets and when we start revealing the winning ticket. That way, in case the network gets bogged down and the validators are out of sync, there's no way to see the winning ticket and still mint it. Now, it's incredibly impractical and would have been very difficult to do anyways, but that is a potential risk vector in the future. And so now we added that stopgap so that several blocks will have to pass. You never know what will happen. That's the danger of being on the cutting edge technology. But in general,
that's blockchain development for you. Is like someone says something, they're like, and then you can do this and this and then this will happen, and you're like, oh yeah, that's nuts. It's like a perpetual that over and over again. Yeah,
it's easy to game things out for when things work perfectly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So tell me about your guys' future plans for Stake or Die and Secret Network.
Yeah, so Griptape, we're going to just that is our long-term thing. That's what we enjoy doing. That's what is exciting for developers. We're going to be hiring for that. Luis has a call right now. Do you have to go? I think he has to go. He has a call right now with some potential hires. We that's like our the sort of core, I guess you could say, to what we're building. And then also sort of take our, improve maybe add some tooling for the validator service so that people, our delegators can get a little more out of working with us. And then really the idea is to be opportunistic with the clients we work with so that we can start making partnerships and then eventually just build our own applications. And today we just announced the first one where we built it from scratch, from conception to launch. It's going to be launching at the end of November. It's called Emergent Properties. And Emergent Properties is a generative NFT platform similar to Art Blocks, but with the benefit of Secret Network. So you get amazing use cases where the thing we're excited about right away is the ability for artists and minters to collaborate on the actual end result of a mint. So you have a generative algorithmic based piece of artwork that takes some inputs. The user enters those inputs when they do the mint process. They get locked in, and then at a future date, everything gets locked in and there's a reveal. And then rarity is based not on chance, but on decision making by the minters. But because it's Secret Network, no one can see what anyone's doing. So it's not gameable. So yeah, things like that. We're just really excited. We feel like Secret Network generative NFTs could almost become a different in kind than Ethereum. That the things that you can do, we haven't even gotten started. And so what we want to do is build a platform, highlight people who are talented, who are making beautiful artwork, but also doing things in the gaming space, doing things outside of that. We're calling it generative NFTs, not generative art, because we think it can broaden beyond that. But our first mint's going to be the end of November, and it's mprops_IO on Twitter if you want to go to that. I'll tell you can put it in the notes or whatever for this if you wouldn't mind. And that to us is like, okay, now we've gotten to a point where we feel like we're becoming where we're starting to do projects that are sort of the dreams when you start a development company. I think everyone says they want to do their own thing, not have to work with clients. Although we love working with clients, but we're being, we're hoping this one works, and we're really excited. So yeah,
I'm familiar with art blocks and generative art, and what you could do with Secret Network and what you're describing is absolutely fascinating, and I cannot wait to personally get involved. So yeah, we'll definitely put that in the episode description and on the YouTube description, and that is awesome. Thanks for dropping that here. So can't wait to
you can bring me back once we launch, hopefully.
Gladly. Yeah. And we'd love to cover that. Cool. Do you guys have any more questions for us or anything else you'd like to talk about?
I don't think so. I think that's good. I think that we covered a lot. I don't know. I think I think Luis has a hard stop, so I could go a little bit longer if you guys have any more questions, but I think Luis, you should drop off probably.
I think we covered a lot today, and it's been very helpful. So you guys have built Griptape. You guys are involved on absolutely everything. Anons, Stash, like every application that gets built, your guys' team's a part of it. So we're very thankful for the help that you guys have put in and for being a part of Secret Network. And we're excited for the applications you guys continue to build. Good.
Awesome.
To close us out, you want to let people know how they can get in touch with you and how they can contribute to Sacred Eye?
Yeah, you wrote, this is another thing I read is like, where do you get in touch? What channels are you on? I'm like a total Luddite when it comes to social media. Actually, that's not the right way of putting it. I've like actively canceled all my social media because I find it toxic.
Fartles only.
I am on, what's that?
Fartles only.
Yeah, I am. I'm on Twitter. It's just the Dusky, but really the Secret Network Discord or Telegram. It's pretty easy to find me, and I'm happy for people to DM, ask questions. We're always we're hiring, looking for developers. So if you are interested in working on Griptape, if you're an amazing JavaScript developer, if you're interested in working on a generative art project, if you're a community organizer, if you're interested, anything like that, just reach out to us and you can find us on Discord or Telegram. Really is the best place. I got to get my tweet game up. I'm working on it. It's my end of the before New Year's resolution. It's my Halloween resolution. But we have M-Props that we just dropped today. And then Sacred Eye, you can find us, and we're working on, I guess that's a
awesome
rambling answer.
And your guys' website is sacredeye.com, and it
has griptapejs.com, which has the documentation on there, griptape.js, and then mprops, all one word, emprops.io.
Okay, so we will list all of those here in the episode description. So guys, check them out.
Amazing.
Learn more about Sacred Eye. Play their little skating video game on their website.
Yeah, before it's gone, we're working on a new website. So yeah,
you can't leave it. You got to bring it back. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great to have you, bud.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for deciphering the secret code. For the community, by the community. New episodes every Sunday. Secret Sunday.
Thanks for listening. Congrats to Matthew for the Community Spotlight question. The reward for this week comes out to 2.5 secret, or roughly $25. If we are his top delegation, then it is 5 secret, or roughly $50. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for your chance to win next week's giveaway. As for next week, the episode will be iconic.